to you.
You know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them.
Jim Jones pulled up on Shannon Sharpe's podcast and dropped a bomb. He said he's more influential than Nas. Not just relevant, but more important to the whole culture. The second that came out his mouth, everything flipped. 50 Cent didn't even say a word. No clapback, no diss post, no name drops. Instead, he hit Instagram with a throwback. An old federal transcript. No captions, just vibes. And the internet went wild. Now fans are digging up wiretaps, dragging out dusty old clips, and connecting dots like it's a Netflix doc. Meanwhile, Jim's in the gym, screaming into his phone, talking diss tracks like he's training for a prison yard battle. But let's be real, this ain't just about Nas, and it definitely ain't just about pride. This feels like 50's way of reminding the whole industry he's the one who never gets touched. And maybe some folks been skating on charges for a reason.
I might have been a little bit.
Lit the fuse thinking it was just a little rap beef. But this might have cracked open something way deeper than music. And here's why Jim name-dropping Nas always stirs the pot. It's not new. That tension's been bubbling for over 20 years. It started back in 2002 when Nas jumped on Hot 97 and randomly trashed Cam'ron's album, calling it whack for no real reason. That diss sent Dipset into full-blown war mode, and Jim? He dove in head first. From that point on, it was on site. Nas and Dipset traded lyrical shots all over mixtapes. But Jim made it personal. He even said he'd smack the kufi off Nas, and kept that same wild energy on tracks like We Fly High. This beef ain't just rap, it's deep, and it's only getting messier. Crazy thing is, Jim used to show love to Nas.
No, me, Jim Jones. No diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones. Check my track record, then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, then check all them entries. And I'm not taking nothing away from nobody, but I hear the comparisons and then be trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this about the industry. I've been putting on.
Just a year ago, he wasn't throwing any shade. It was all respect. But that love flipped fast. It all shifted when Jim popped up on Fat Joe and Jadakiss' podcast, and Fat Joe, being messy as ever, stirred the pot.
I way appreciate him. He had a little bit run.
That moment alone could have just lived online as a quick clip, but Jim, he wasn't ready to let it die down. He was just getting started. Out of nowhere, Jim dropped one of the wildest takes in recent hip-hop memory. He didn't just say he was more relevant than Nas. He went all the way and said he's more influential than the Queensbridge legend himself. We're talking Nas, the man who gave us Illmatic, God's Son, King's Disease. The same guy still packing out Madison Square Garden in his 50s. But Jim? He wasn't nervous. He wasn't unsure. He didn't stutter once. He stood 10 toes down on that take. That interview didn't just shake things up, it blew everything wide open. The pot didn't just stir, it flipped over and set the whole room on fire. And just when people were trying to catch their breath, Jim came back louder. This time, he landed on Shannon Sharpe's nightcap, sitting next to Shannon and Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson, ready to break it all down. Instead of walking it back, Jim doubled down again, like he wanted the smoke. And Shannon? He wasn't playing. He opened the convo straight up by saying, but what Jim said next had fans pausing the episode like, wait, what? Just when it seemed like he was done stacking his resume next to Nas's, Jim hit us with another wild take.
But Nas don't be belly and shit like that.
He started bringing up that old Dipset versus Nas beef from the early 2000s, acting like he was the real Nas superfan. He claimed he always respected Nas, but now, he swore he'd passed him in cultural impact. Then Jim tried to soften the blow by calling Nas one of the flyest ever when it came to fashion. But he kept circling back to the same thing. Nas doesn't move the streets like I do. That's when the salt really kicked in. Jim started clowning Shannon for his fit, straight up roasting him for what he was wearing. At this point, Ocho Cinco was just sitting back like a fan, watching the chaos unfold, barely blinking.
Shannon wasn't having it.
Bro, you been at this. But you didn't even say that, bro.
And then it got tense. Real tense. Shannon brought up Nas still out here rapping and relevant. Jim fired back, saying Shannon only brought him on the show for views. That hit a nerve, and UNC snapped. "This the biggest podcast you ever been on," he barked. But Shannon wasn't about to let it slide. He flipped the energy instantly, went from chill host to straight-up sparring partner. If Jim wanted smoke, Shannon was ready to take it off the mic and into the gym.
Still playing.
Hit invited to the club, Shay Shay.
Jim told Shannon he was better than Nas. And Shannon didn't just challenge his bars, he straight-up challenged his body. Check this! Instead of clapping back at 50 Cent directly, Jim tried to flip the convo into a whole gym flex. He challenged Shannon to a workout battle, like showing off muscles would somehow prove he still got dominance in some arena. But while Jim was caught up in all that fitness showboating, 50 had already made his move, silently pulling strings behind the scenes. And that one label name that keeps floating around, still hanging in the air like smoke nobody wants to talk about? Meanwhile, the internet was on fire. The comment section was straight up wild. Fans were losing it. People couldn't get over the fact that a retired NFL Hall of Famer was the one out here going harder for Nas than some of his own hip-hop peers. One fan wrote, "Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done." Another called out Jim directly, "Jones, you delusional. Shannon, thank you for bringing it up." And honestly, they weren't wrong. Why were Joe and Jada so quiet when Jim first started talking reckless?
When it got, honestly, I can't, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck do you write about him? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. I'm like, yo, the used to have so nervous was like B.I.G., Pop,
Right.
even cannabis, like Eminem, used to have you like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these Jim Jones, I respect you getting your money. You're like, exactly, right?
All while this circus was spinning, 50 was watching from the shadows, not cracking jokes, not even smiling. He was calculating. But just when folks thought it couldn't get pettier, the internet pulled out receipts. A throwback clip resurfaced, and it was brutal. Back in the day, Nas didn't even acknowledge Jim's disses. He straight up laughed him off the stage. And now in 2025, that same clip is making the rounds again, and the internet's eating it up like leftovers. But wait, it didn't stop there. While Nas stayed quiet and Shannon kept pumping iron, someone else had been watching this whole thing unfold from the shadows. And they're not staying quiet much longer. The moment 50 Cent heard Jim say he was better than Nas, he didn't flinch. He just laughed like it was comedy hour. Then, true to his legend, 50 reached into his bottomless vault of petty and pulled out one of the most explosive rumors in hip-hop history. All it took was one caption, Individual One. And just like that, the internet went nuts. See? Individual One ain't just a funny nickname, it's a heavy federal label, straight out of the Tekashi 6ix9ine wiretap files from 2018. During Tekashi's trial tied to the 9 Trey Bloods, prosecutors played a recorded call. On that tape, someone was allegedly telling other gang members to violate Tekashi for flipping on the crew. The person wasn't named, but was labeled Individual One, and everybody in the streets believed that voice sounded a whole lot like Jim Jones. Now, to be clear, Jim's voice was never officially confirmed in court. He was never charged with anything. But that didn't stop the internet, blogs, or especially 50 Cent from keeping that rumor alive. And now that Jim's out here flexing on podcasts, baiting Nas, 50 saw the perfect chance to hit back with a reminder. The streets don't forget. So 50 slid back into his IG bag and reposted a meme he once deleted real quick. The caption?
Video of 50 looking terrified.
I'm hiding out in Texas. Please, whatever you do, don't tell them I'm in San Antonio. Don't tell them I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Don't tell them, please don't tell them, man, because there's just so much pressure on me right now. I don't know what to do.
So that's why they ain't pull him in? Say it ain't so, Jimmy. And boom, just like that, the streets lit up again. Let's rewind to 2019. The Shade Room posted updates from Tekashi's case, and a verified courtroom reporter confirmed. Tekashi named Jim Jones as a 9-tray member under oath. Aimbadu? He couldn't help himself. He was all over that comment section. Then came that clip. The now infamous video of 50 looking spooked, wide-eyed, shook, like he'd just heard something that hit way too close to home. 50 literally wrote, "I'm afraid for my life. I mean, Jimmy is gang. The internet lost it. The memes were flying, the comment sections were on fire, and while everyone else was laughing, Jimmy, he was low-key twitching. But here's where the plot twists. This beef ain't even about Nas at its core." 50 didn't randomly jump into the drama just because of the Nas comparison. He's been holding tension with Jim for years, and this whole "I'm better than Nas" moment, it handed 50 the perfect excuse to drag Jim back through the mud. Rewind to 2007. 50 Cent brought Jim Jones and Joel Santana out on stage during a G-Unit show, right in the middle of Dipset's internal meltdown. Cameron saw it as a slap in the face. The crew was already crumbling behind the scenes, and 50 flexed like he was scooping up the pieces for himself. Then in 2019, during Tekashi 6699's federal trial, Jim's name got wrapped into it again. That same individual one phone call came up in court. Prosecutors played it for the jury, and even though Jim wasn't charged with anything, that label stuck like glue. The streets ran wild with snitching rumors. Now Jim saw 50's shady posts, every single one. At first, he tried to keep it cool. He posted a throwback photo from his classic Bird Gang era, drenched in Dipset vibes. The caption? "Why you keep lying? LOL, I'm going back to sleep. Free male matrix till it's reversed." That wasn't just nostalgia, it was a shot. Free male matrix was a direct nod to his close friend doing 11+ years for racketeering. The post was Jim's way of saying 50 was pushing a fake narrative and living in a fantasy world. But Jim didn't stop there. He hit back with another Jim video, this time with a whole new caption, turning up the heat like he was training for something way bigger than just fitness. Jim came out swinging with this post. "Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe, don't start ducking this challenge now. You gon' talk like a podcaster, or you gon' walk what you talk? My sneakers tied." He kept going. "You already challenged me in front the whole world. Might as well finish the job, champ." And then came the twist. Ocho Cinco apparently said Shannon didn't want to do it in public. Jim fired back. "Let's do it in private then." I know his rep as an athlete on the line. As long as you're the witness, we don't duck no challenges. Size don't matter where I'm from. Run it. So while 50 was out here trolling with federal memes and shady captions, Jim was acting like he's lacing up for a full-on brawl. The energy was intense, like he was ready to turn a podcast beef into a pay-per-view event. And just to make sure the fire kept burning, Jim dropped one more slick post. "If you 40 and up arguing with me about Nas, you already lost." Straight shots. No filter. Jim hit the internet with one last mic drop. "Y'all fell for the bait. My streams go up every time Mel goes viral. I'm teaching you older artists a lesson in marketing. Y'all stuck in yesterday, mad about how the game moves today. Tighten up!" And his caption? It said everything. I said what I said. P.S. I'll wrap circles around any artist from my era. Whoever dares step in the booth, bring a bag, 'cause this game ain't free. Then he added, "We outside, we in the field, take that how you want, but we workin' every day." But the wildest part in all of this? Nas didn't say a single word. Not one post, not one bar, nothing. While Jim kept poking, kept bragging, kept pushing the "I'm more influential" narrative, Nas stayed quiet. Ice-cold silence. And that's got fans looking at Jim sideways. They're calling him out heavy, saying he's chasing clout, not greatness. Saying this ain't legacy, it's desperation. Right now, Jim's still out here throwing bait. Nas? Still ghost. And 50? Still sitting back in the shadows, pulling strings like a silent puppet master. But here's where things get dangerous. If that unreleased wiretap really exists, the one people have whispered about since 2018, Jim might have just talked himself into something bigger than rap beef. Because while Jim's on IG talking workouts and bars, 50's gone dead silent. And anyone who knows 50 knows. That's when it gets real. When 50 stops trolling, it means a bomb's getting ready to drop. So now we're all watching and waiting. Will Nas finally step in and end this with a brutal bar-for-bar takedown? Or is 50 just waiting for the perfect moment to let the truth leak, when it's way too late for Jim to run?